The night was unnaturally silent, the kind of quiet that gnawed at the edges of sanity. Elise tightened her grip on the flickering lantern, its dim light barely piercing the dense fog that clung to the forest. She shouldn't have come here. No one came to Black Hollow willingly, not after what happened to the last group of explorers. A branch snapped behind her. She froze, her breath hitching. "Who's there?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The fog seemed to swallow her words, leaving only the oppressive sound of her heartbeat. The final word, she whispered. "Leave," a voice rasped, so close it could have been spoken into her ear. Elise spun around, but no one was there. Only the fog, thick and unyielding, pressing against her like a living thing. She backed away, her feet crunching on the forest floor, until she hit something solid. Turning slowly, she found herself staring at an ancient, moss-covered gate, its iron bars twisted like gnarled fingers. "I have to find her," Elise murmured, as if reminding herself why she was here. Her sister Anna had disappeared 3 nights ago, and the search party had called off their efforts after finding nothing but blood-stained leaves and claw marks on the trees. Princess Kay. "You won't save her," the voice hissed again, this time from everywhere and nowhere. "Show yourself," Elise demanded, her voice breaking. The lantern flickered violently, the flame nearly extinguished. She took a shaky step forward and pushed the gate open with a groan that echoed into the void. Beyond the gate lay the ruins of an old estate. Its crumbling walls jutted out of the fog like skeletal remains, and the air reeked of damp earth and decay. As Elise stepped inside, the temperature plummeted, her breath now visible in the pale light. "Anna?" she called out, her voice wavering. A faint sobbing drifted from the far end of the courtyard. Elise's heart leapt. "Anna, is that you?" She ran toward the sound, her lantern swinging wildly, casting grotesque shadows on the walls. The sobbing stopped abruptly, replaced by a chilling silence. Then came a laugh, high-pitched, childlike, but wrong in every way. "Elise," it called, mimicking her voice. "Come play with me." "What do you want?" Elise shouted, her courage faltering as she turned in circles, trying to locate the source. The fog seemed to thicken, obscuring her vision entirely. "We want you," multiple voices answered in unison, each one layered atop the other. Suddenly, a figure lunged out of the fog. It was Anna, or at least it looked like her. Her hair was matted, her skin pale as ash, and her eyes were hollow, voids of endless black. "Anna!" Elise cried, reaching out, but the thing that wore her sister's face snarled, its mouth stretching impossibly wide, revealing jagged yellowed teeth. Elise screamed and stumbled back, dropping the lantern. It shattered, plunging her into darkness. "Run!" Anna's distorted voice whispered. Elise scrambled to her feet, adrenaline overriding her terror. She bolted toward the crumbling manor, her hands outstretched, groping through the suffocating blackness. She reached the heavy wooden door and shoved it open, slipping inside just as an inhuman shriek pierced the air. Inside, the air was damp and heavy. The walls seemed to pulse, and the faint sound of a heartbeat echoed through the space. "This isn't real," Elise whispered to herself, tears streaming down her face. "It's just the forest playing tricks." "Is it?" a voice replied mockingly. Elise whipped around. A man stood at the end of the corridor, his face obscured by shadow. "Who are you?" she demanded, though her voice was little more than a whisper. For a moment she was touched. "A warning," he said, stepping closer. His face came into view, and Elise's stomach churned. His eyes were missing, dark sockets oozing with black ichor. "Leave this place or it will claim you too," he said, his voice echoing unnaturally. "Where is my sister?" Elise shouted, stepping toward him. "Tell me." The man's mouth twisted into a grotesque grin. "She's already part of it. Soon, you will be too." Before Elise could react, the man dissolved into smoke, which swirled around her before dissipating. She staggered back, clutching her chest as an unnatural cold seeped into her bones. From deeper within the manor, a door creaked open. A faint light spilled out, accompanied by the sound of a music box playing a haunting melody. Compelled by something she couldn't explain, Elise moved toward it. Inside the room was a small table, and on it sat the music box. The melody stopped as soon as she entered. A chill ran down her spine as she saw the words etched into the wood. "Welcome home." "Elise," Anna's voice called softly. Elise turned to see her sister standing in the corner, her face partially hidden in shadow. "Anna, thank God!" she cried, rushing toward her. "Stop," Anna said, her voice sharp and cold. Elise froze. "What's wrong?" "It's too late," Anna whispered, stepping into the light. Her face was twisted, her features shifting between human and something monstrous. "You can't save me. You shouldn't have come." Elise's heart shattered. "No, I can help you. We can leave together." Anna shook her head, tears streaming down her warped face. "Run, Elise, run before it takes you too." The walls began to tremble, and the floor cracked beneath Elise's feet. From the shadows, figures emerged, their shapes unnatural, their eyes glowing with malevolence. They moved toward her, their whispers turning into a deafening roar. Elise turned and ran, her legs burning as she sprinted through the manor. The walls seemed to close in, the corridors twisting and turning in impossible directions. Behind her, the creatures gave chase, their guttural growls echoing like a death knell. She burst through a door and found herself back in the forest, the fog thinner now but still oppressive. She didn't stop running until she reached the edge of the trees, collapsing onto the damp earth. Looking back, she saw the manor's silhouette in the distance. The figures stood in the doorway, watching her, their glowing eyes piercing the fog. Among them was Anna, her face expressionless. "I'll come back for you," Elise whispered, though her voice was drowned out by the sound of the wind. As the fog swallowed the figures and the manor disappeared, Elise knew one thing: Black Hollow wasn't done with her yet. 3 weeks later, Elise sat at her kitchen table, her hands trembling as she flipped through a tattered journal she'd found in the woods on her way back. The entries were erratic, scrawled in a desperate hand, detailing the horrors of the manor. Each page seemed to thrum with a dark energy, as if the words themselves carried a curse. A knock at the door startled her. It was late, far too late for visitors. Her heart pounded as she approached, each step feeling heavier than the last. She opened the door to find no one there, only the faint whisper of the wind and a single, chilling note on the ground. "You promised," it read in jagged, blood-red letters. From the darkness beyond her porch, she heard Anna's voice. "Elise, come back." Elise's grip on the doorframe tightened. She knew she couldn't escape Black Hollow's grasp. The pull was too strong, the promise too binding. Taking a deep breath, she stepped into the night, the fog closing in around her once more.